Today we are talking about the case of Orrin and Orson West, two brothers who seemingly have vanished off the face of this earth without leaving a trace of evidence behind. But how does a 3- and 4-year-old just disappear into thin air? And who is truly responsible? Now, we have covered this case extensively on this channel, but we are going to cover everything start to finish here today, including all of the new updates in this case and where we are at, where it comes now to a pending trial. There is a lot to go over, guys. This case has been one that so many people have been invested in. So many sleuths have gone digging in. It is a wild one. And now with the trial about to start, it is just one we definitely need to revisit and regroup what was real, what was false, what's actually the truth in this case. So we're going to go through it all. So buckle up, guys. My name's Elise. This is 10 to Life, and let's dive right in. We know the West boys by the names Orrin and Orson. However, that was not actually their birth-given names. However, we will be referring to the boys as Orrin and Orson in this video, since that is what they are most well known as. According to reports, the boys' birth mother, Ryan Dean, had lost custody of the children following a domestic dispute, which resulted in Orrin sustaining a leg fracture. Now, she maintains that she was not present during the incident and that the boys were in the care of another family member at that time. However, this led to the state of California removing the children from her care and placing them in foster care. Her last known contact with her sons was in December 2018, just before Christmas. In 2018, both of the boys were placed into the foster home of Trezell West and Jackie West. The four of them initially resided in a small apartment complex in Bakersfield, California, with 4 other siblings, 2 that Trezell and Jackie had adopted, and 2 that they had birthed themselves. Trezell and Jackie had adopted both of the boys in 2019 and renamed them from their birth names Sincere and Classic to Orrin and Orson, which honestly is kind of weird to me considering that at the time, the boys were 2 and 3 years old enough to know their names, certainly recognize their names, so why the change? Nevertheless, that's what happened. The family, needing more room, decided to buy a home in Cal City, California in 2020, and so they loaded all of their belongings up and moved into a simple single-story home in a developing neighborhood. California City is a desert community located approximately 110 miles north of Los Angeles. With a population of roughly 14,000 people, it is home to major employers such as Edwards Air Force Base, Mojave Air and Spaceport, and even a prison. While the area has experienced its fair share of violent crime, homicides are relatively infrequent, with some years passing without any recorded killings at all, and others with just 1 on record. So, a relatively safe neighborhood for this family. It's unclear what Trezell and Jackie did to earn an income. However, we do know that occasionally Trezell would sell music beats, to music artists as kind of like a freelancer, and Jackie stayed home with the children. So they were paid their stipends from the state for fostering children, and it seems as though that was their main source of income. According to Knott's Family Agency, the state of California pays foster parents an average of between $1,000 and $2,600 a month to help with the expenses of taking care of the child. And then once that child legally becomes adopted, California offers an adoption subsidy of anywhere from $600 to $800 per month per child. So now we're going to talk about the events that took place on December 21st, 2020. The events that took place according to Trezell and Jackie. Trezell claims that he was working in the backyard to gather firewood since it was a pretty chilly evening in Cal City, when Jackie was inside the house wrapping Christmas gifts for all of the children. She didn't want the kids to see the gifts, so she sent Orrin and Orson outside to play with chalk on the patio in the backyard. Trezell, picking up and loading firewood, walked inside the home to drop the firewood at the fireplace, and he was inside for about a minute, according to him. When he walked back outside, he noticed that both of the boys were gone. Trezell went back inside to see if Jackie had seen them, but she said no. So he began to search the backyard and all through the house. Then he realized that he had left the side gate open. So he ran to the front yard, jumped into the family van, and began to search the neighborhood. He states that he searched every street, called their names, and even talked to a neighbor that was outside at the time. But he had no luck, and it was starting to get dark. So that's when he went home, and that's when he and Jackie decided to call the police. And this call took place around 4:45 p.m. Now, if you look at the home from an aerial viewpoint, you can see that the backyard is pretty large. The gate that is apparently the one that Trezell claims he left open opens up to an open lot that sits next door next to his home. So if he was in and out, back outside within a minute, and immediately started rushing around looking for the boys and noticing the gate, wouldn't he have seen the boys heading out towards that open field? So could he have been inside for longer than he says? Or were the boys even there at all? And we're going to get into more of that shortly. Now, this is where the case really begins to build and completely unravel, in my opinion. The police arrived at the scene at 4:52 p.m. Chief Police of Cal City John Walker explained in a later interview that with missing children cases, the investigation would typically start from the inside out. So that's what these officers did. They began scanning the yard and searching the house, every single square inch of that house. They looked behind the shed in the backyard and even underneath it. They brought out canines and hoped to pick up the boys' scent and catch a trail. And the canines were successful at picking up Orrin and Orson's scent inside the home. However, they never picked up their scent on the patio or anywhere near the outside of the house. Other law enforcement officers were scanning the neighborhood, knocking door to door to interview tenants, and trying to gather outdoor camera footage if possible to build a timeline to start gathering evidence. After piecing together all of the door footage, things started to seem unsettling about Trezell and Jackie. Let's go through this timeline. At 4:12 to 4:20 p.m., it shows Trezell walking back and forth in the backyard, possibly getting the firewood like he had in fact stated. From 4:21 to 4:32 p.m., we see in the footage Trezell go back into the house and lights within the house are going off and on, which we assume they are probably looking through all of the rooms in the house to find the boys. He spends a significant amount of time in there before he then runs out front, jumps into the family van from the passenger side, climbs over and into the driver's side, and then drives off. At 4:33 p.m., he drives off. At 4:39 p.m., he returns back home, parks the van, and gets out. So he spent a total of 6 minutes searching for these boys. But remember how he said he was searching every street in the neighborhood and even talked to a neighbor during this time. That's a lot of area to cover in just 6 minutes. At 4:40 p.m., he gets out of the van and stands in his front yard, waiting for the police to arrive for 13 minutes. He stood outside for double the amount of time that he actually spent looking for the boys. He never goes back inside the house either. He never searches around outside of the house, and we never see Jackie leave the house either. So, I don't know about you, but as a mother, if I learn that my 2- and 3-year-old are missing and they're not in the house, I'm not staying in that house. I'm out in the yard, I'm searching every corner, every bush, looking for my babies, screaming their names, trying to do anything humanly possible. But Jackie did not leave the house, not one time. So at 4:53 p.m., the police arrive, and Trezell hops back into the van to go follow the police and search for the boys.
Okay, so we're at 16:29. We just skipped over like 3 or 4 seconds.
Let's go back a little bit further, because right there at the 28 mark, the light in the front is not even on yet.
Not yet, but then the light does turn on. And we haven't seen no kids leave out that rear. Even if we did, we would have seen them come out to the front. Boom, the light just turned on now to the van.
What, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
There's the light. There's a light blinking on the van.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there you go.
There it is.
side door opens.
Doors open.
He is in no rush.
Yeah, like if you're gonna run to jump in your car to take off, why would you sit in from the passenger side? Like, you know how hard it is to like jump over the center console, like, right? You're rushing, like.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
Yeah, this hella suspect,
And,
bro.
but he never went walking down the street at all.
No, he didn't even walk to the front of the street to see if they're on the.
He didn't go back into the rear to look for him. Nowhere.
You look behind the side of the car, like maybe they're on the other side of the car. Just.
Yeah.
He didn't sit from that side.
At the end of the road over here, it tees off to what, an open road, or is that a main road? When you go back like this way, away from back, like heading towards the road this way?
Yeah.
Now, what we don't see in this footage is anyone besides Trezell. We don't see two toddlers walking into the road. We don't see anyone approaching the house. We don't see anybody leaving with the children. And we don't see any suspicious cars passing by. It was almost as if it never happened. So, as we can see, the digital forensics does not entirely line up with Trezell's story. Not only that, but neighbors had told the police that they had actually never even seen the two boys in the 4 months that the family had lived there. So, what about the other 4 children? Surely they know something. Surely they saw something. You can't just escape and vanish into thin air without 6 people in total noticing. So where were they during all of this? Well, according to Trezell, they were on vacation, and it was later clarified that they were at their grandmother's house in Bakersfield, and they had been there since December 19th. Trezell stated that Orrin and Orson stayed back because they are younger, and they can be a little too rambunctious. A very key word, and you'll understand why later. One neighbor even showed their camera footage from December 19th, and it showed the family and the 4 older children getting into the van, leaving for roughly 2 hours, and just the adults returning.
You'll see the kids from that little crack right there, from this little part right here. You'll see the kids jumping in the van right now.
How many kids does he have altogether?
So he has 2 of his own, I believe. 2 adopted, which were the ones that are missing, and 2 fosters.
So 6 altogether.
I believe so.
And we're only going to see 4 come out right now.
Correct. So there it goes. That's 1, I believe. Or so that's 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And 4.
And the wife.
And the wife. So he just kind of sort of rushed them in. Did you see that?
Quick, ran them in there.
He rushed them in there quick. So 4 kids only got in the van.
But here's the question. If in that footage they were in fact taking the 4 children to Grandma's house, great. But if so, where is Orrin and Orson? Surely they didn't leave a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old alone for 2 hours to fend for themselves. So were the boys already gone before the 21st? And was this some sort of elaborate plan that Trezell and Jackie decided to execute that day in order to have an explanation on why the boys weren't around for the holidays? As you can imagine, the police began to quickly get suspicious. So the next day, they took Trezell and Jackie in for questioning. They were walked to the squad cars, not handcuffed, and it was reported that they were being very cooperative. They were asked to take polygraph tests, however, the results for those have never been released. They issued the couple a search warrant for their home, and law enforcement picked through the home and carried out bags of evidence. They towed the family van in for luminol testing also to see if there were any traces of blood in it, but none was detected. The community really came together to search for these boys. There were people who were searching ditches and walking along trenches, and those who were not searching were providing blankets, water, food for the searchers. Many pastors sat outside, leading in prayer for the boys as crowds gathered together in unity. One pastor even drove more than 40 miles from Lancaster just to show his support. However, like every major high-profile case that we see, not all of the community involvement was positive or productive when it came to the suspicion aimed at Trezell and Jackie. On January 2, 2021, the extended adopted family of Orrin and Orson released a statement claiming that they had been victims of harassment and threats from the public. One resident even drove into the driveway of the home and screwed a poster into their awning, and the poster read, "Where are the boys?" A clear sign of frustration felt by many residents who just wanted answers. An hour later, another car drove up to the house and threw a large rock through the window, shattering it. Others would drive past and obnoxiously honk in front of the house as well. Now, thank God the other 4 children were removed from their custody when all of this vandalization was happening at the house, but it didn't stop the death threats that many from the West's extended family were facing. And the family issued this statement: "Our priority is to find out where our boys are and their safe return. The truth has to and will come to light. We thank those who are standing in the gap by searching as volunteers and fully supporting all law enforcement agencies in fully investigating all possible scenarios and leaving no stone unturned. For those who attacked us, wishing us harm and ill will, we will continue to pray for you and ask that you direct your energy on helping the actual search." 2 days after the boys were reported as missing, Trezell and Jackie did an interview of their own, and many people found this interview to be very strange. Now, if you're listening to audio only and you want to see this video, you can always head over to YouTube and watch the video version. But if you don't necessarily care about seeing the body language throughout this video, I'm going to explain it as detailed as I possibly can. During the video, the first thing that I notice is that Trezell has what I call Chris Watts hands. And if you follow true crime, you know exactly what I mean. His hands are crossed along his chest, and both he and Jackie are swaying side to side. Both of them are wearing masks, and let me just reference, I know this is during the peak of COVID, but I can't help but wonder if they also did this to help hide facial expressions.
So, tell us what happened the night that kids went missing.
Okay.
From our yard.
Okay. It was cold. I was gonna make a fire. There's a lot of wood in this area right here next to our house. I opened up the back gate. I'm throwing wood, bringing it inside the house. My wife's inside. She was actually wrapping gifts, so we thought it was a good idea that our youngest two would go outside and play with chalk on the back patio. Do not let them go on the dirt in the backyard. We keep them close. So I was playing with chalk, and I came in the house. I saw them there. I went in the house. I came back out. I didn't see them there. I immediately went back in, asked my wife, "Did you see the boys?" She said, "No, they should be outside playing with chalk." I said, "Well, I didn't see them," so I came back outside and I started searching my backyard. I searched the whole thing. I realized that I left the gate open, and I panicked, came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife. Once that hadn't panned out, I got in the van. I looked down the street, both directions. It was getting dark, getting cold, and I got in the van and I hit a bunch of corners. I went down this street. I turned my light on. I searched. I called their names. Talked to a gentleman on the street on the other side over there. He didn't see me. So then I came home and I told my wife we need to call the cops. It's getting dark and I need help. We gotta get going.
If you're watching the video version, then you will see that they do not make eye contact at all when they are talking. They are continuously looking to the left.
We just spoke to the biological mother. She says she had a conversation with you guys, and that she thinks there's some kind of foul play involved. That she thinks you guys did something.
And that's understandable.
What's your response to that?
That's understandable. I would think the same thing.
Yep.
I mean, that's exactly the point. And if we can find our babies, then guess what? That's no. And that's all I want is to find our babies. That's it. And I talked to her this morning, and I really wanted to tell her that I am completely sorry because we were entrusted with her children, and they came to us, and they became our children. We named them, and they are our children, and so we want them back. So please, if y'all could get back on what you guys are doing, we should be able to get a hold of somebody, but they took all of our tech, so they wanted to, I guess, just rule us out, which makes sense. That's part of the investigation. So that's pretty much it. I don't even know.
I see. Yeah, we seriously felt like we needed to be out here. We did. Again, we were told the best are out here looking already, just to stay put. They have more questions. There was literally a cop with us the whole time in
And
there.
he had sitting down. We would ask, can we go help? They had to sit
Said
down.
nope.
He said, no, we got the best out there.
So
We
it's
need
not-
you guys here in case we have more questions.
I don't want you guys thinking
We
we
don't.
didn't try. We actually
We
looked
tried.
before we called
We
the
looked,
police.
yes.
And I imagine the mind-boggling part is the search for information. What happened? Where are they?
Yes.
Et cetera, et cetera.
And we're, yeah.
And just so we are able to present the information correctly, at what time did you guys notice your kids went missing, and at what time were they reported missing to the police?
It's about, I think it was about 4:30, going on 5. It was getting dark, like I said.
5-ish.
5-ish. That's about it. That's when everything played out.
So yes, this would make sense to me. The first day, they probably don't want parents out searching with the masses just in case the kids show up and, they know exactly where to find Jackie and Trezell. But this interview was done on December 23rd, 2 days after they were reported as missing. The police weren't sitting with them in their homes for 2 days, preventing them from searching. And I'm sorry, Jackie, but what did you say? You searched before calling the police? Because remember, you didn't even leave your house. It was all seen on footage. And your husband only searched for a total of 6 minutes. The toddler's adoptive uncle, Jamal Watkins, told a local news outlet, "We offered a reward out of our own pockets, and it is misguided to blame uncles and aunts and grandparents for children who are missing that we love and care about and are trying to find." He also said in a statement, "What has continued is the alarming number of threats of physical violence, including death threats, intentional harassment, and information being perpetuated by groups and other individuals." He goes on to say, "As a family, we have had to be even more cautious to not engage directly with individuals who have trespassed on various family members' properties, hurled insults, reported false information deliberately, damaged property, and created a hate-filled, hostile environment." Their adopted grandmother, Wanda West, Trezell's mother, added this statement, "I just know they were really good parents as far as I'm concerned. Right now there are people outside of the home talking about where the boys are. It's like people don't realize we are just grieving. We are hurting just like they are." On January 4th, nearly 40 volunteers searched the empty fields in Bakersfield near where the boys previously lived. On January 5th, the West family issued another statement saying that they have hired private investigators to help locate the boys. Bill Garcia, one of the private investigators who started looking into this case, reported talking to a California City woman who said that she had seen Orrin and Orson in an Albertsons parking lot in a nearby town on December 23rd. This woman told Bill Garcia that the two boys were with two men. Each of the two men was holding one of the boys' hands, and they weren't trying to run away, and it felt like a totally normal situation. That woman said that both men seemed to be in their 20s or 30s. One of them was black, and the other one she thought could have been black, but she didn't get a good look at him. So this news outlet said he thought that the police should concentrate their search in wooded areas of this town, saying it is desolate for the most part with the exception of some ranches, and these would be good areas for someone to dispose of a body if that's what they were looking to do. In response to this, California City Police Chief John Walker said, "I don't know where he's getting his information. We have several agencies involved and we haven't heard anything about that." Search parties were conducted in California City and Bakersfield. But as the days and weeks dragged on with no sign of Orrin and Orson, the search parties dwindled. However, a reward fund grew as members of the community, local business owners, larger businesses, and family members of Orrin and Orson donated to it. By mid-January, less than a month after reported as missing, the community raised over $100,000 for the search for these two boys. And let's not forget, this was mid-pandemic, when businesses were failing, people were struggling, but that's how invested these people were in getting justice. In March of 2021, the Bakersfield Police Department announced their takeover as lead agency on the case. However, California City Police and the FBI remained heavily involved. Bakersfield was a larger police department than California City, and it had way more resources to devote to the investigation. Also, remember that that's also where the family lived last, before their children went missing. Many people believe that at this point in time, if not before, police were starting to suspect that Orrin and Orson had never made it to Cal City. Ever. never made it they never left Bakersfield and never made that move. Sergeant Robert Fair from the Bakersfield Public Information Office said that there is a historical type to the city of Bakersfield where these boys were, that they were predominantly in the city of Bakersfield, that family members reside in Bakersfield, and a lot of the interviews that have taken place throughout the course of the investigation have occurred in the city of Bakersfield. Bakersfield being the key place of where the boys were last seen and a huge marker in this investigation. Within 5 days of taking over, the Bakersfield officers executed several search warrants. One of those warrants was executed at the adoptive grandmother's home, also Trezell West's mother, Wanda West. The team also searched the area near East Pacheco and Cottonwood Roads. Unfortunately, the boys were not located during this search, and law enforcement will not reveal what led them to this area. But Bakersfield police have asked for anybody that has had any contact with the Orson and Orrin in that past year to call them with any information using a secret witness hotline. And this is what I can only assume was them trying to dig into what Orrin and Orson's lives were like before they went missing, and when they were last truly seen by somebody other than Trezell and Jackie. At the end of March, Wanda West, Trezell's mom and their adoptive grandmother, made a public statement, and this statement said, "Someone knows exactly where Orrin and Orson are and what happened in December. Come forward. God and our family have already forgiven you, and you will be free from this guilt and burden that I know you are carrying. These are babies who are loved and have an entire future waiting for them to explore. Release them and yourself from all of this. All we want are the boys back. Children are to be loved and cared for and protected at all costs. And to have your own grandchildren be stripped away by God is a nightmare that will break down the strongest of us all." In June of 2021, Bakersfield Police Chief Greg Terry discussed how the department had handled the investigation. They had issued 44 search warrants, interviewed 88 people, seized over 170 items of evidence, and they were still attempting to extract data from cellular and electronic devices. They conducted a massive search across 3 locations out of state and followed up on 200 tips. However, none of this led them any closer to finding out what had happened to the 2 brothers, which, as you can imagine, made the public extremely frustrated and made many, including myself, feel as if the case was going cold.
Where are the boys? 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 Where are the boys?
Chief Terry expressed his confidence that although a lot of time had elapsed, the case was not classified as a cold one, stating, make no mistake, this is very important to us. A lot of resources have been devoted to this case, and we will work until we have answers. In January, Charles and Brenda, the boys' biological father and paternal grandmother, filed a lawsuit against Kern County CPS, alleging that the agency was negligent in taking Orrin and Orson from their biological mother in 2018 and then placing them in the care of Trezell and Jackie. Bakersfield.com reported that the complaint alleged that the boys were not supervised by their parents when Orrin injured his leg, and that their paternal grandmother, Brenda, had offered to take both Orrin and Orson into her home while the investigation continued so that they did not have to go into the foster care system. But apparently, CPS denied the request. The complaint read, "The defendants had a duty to the plaintiffs to investigate the safety of both of the family homes' welfare of the children and the safety of the environment, but failed to do so." The grand jury hearing, which had been scheduled for December of 2021, reportedly included testimony from more than 50 witnesses. The grand jury believed that Orrin and Orson had never actually been to the California City home, and that they were deceased months before they were reported missing. In March of 2022, 3 months later, out of nowhere, Trezell and Jackie were arrested. This was on March 1st, and they were booked into Kern County Jail for the murder of both boys. Kern County seems to be confident that they have enough evidence to be able to prosecute this case without the bodies of Orrin and Orson, as the boys still have not been recovered. However, both Trezell and Jackie, of course, pleaded not guilty. The arraignment was made June 10, 2022, following a grand jury superseding indictment that includes the new charges in addition to those in the original indictment. So now, the Wests each face 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of child cruelty, falsely reporting an emergency, involuntary manslaughter, and conspiracy. Alexia Torres Stallings, the attorney for Jackie West, asked that bail be set for her client, but the judge said that both defendants will remain in custody without bail. However, the judge said that both could file motions for bail, which could be heard at a later date. A gag order was granted after Kern County DA Eric Smith requested both sides refrain from divulging any information about Trezell and Jackie. In addition, the judge approved a request to seal the grand jury transcripts and all the search warrants related to the investigation. According to the indictment document, Trezell and Jackie are accused of inducing others to participate in the commission of the crime or occupied a position of leadership or dominance of other participants in its commission. Also, inducing a minor to commit or assist in the commission of the crime. The couple are also accused of threatening witnesses, unlawfully preventing or dissuading witnesses from testifying, suborned perjury, or in any way illegally interfered with the judicial process. Also, that the manner of the crime that was carried out indicates planning, sophistication, or professionalism. A criminal protective order bars the West from seeing their 2 biological children and 2 remaining adopted children. Prosecutors sought out the order out of concern that the West would influence the children about this case. In June of 2022, Orson and Orrin's mother provided more details about the incident that had her children removed from her care initially. She lost custody of her oldest son, Classic, also known as Orrin, in 2016 after she came home from work and found her 3-month-old son crying uncontrollably. The baby had been in the care of his father, Charles, that day. She said that Charles told her that he'd given his son 2 baths that day, but nothing out of the ordinary had happened. However, when she brought her son to the hospital, doctors discovered that both of his legs were broken. The child was taken into the custody of Kern County Human Services after doctors felt he might have been hurt in that home. So the mother, who attorneys said had no criminal record, completed parenting classes and filed a reunification request to regain custody of her son, who had been placed in a foster home, where she was able to visit him regularly. As a result of the stress of the situation, however, her attorney said a doctor recommended that she use Mary Jane. Once she completed her parenting classes, her attempts to reunify with her son were denied because she was told she was needed counseling as a result of the smoking. Her son Sincere, or also known as Orson, was born in June of 2017. Although he was initially released into her care, he was removed by the Kern County Human Services Department just a few days later because she says she was told they like to keep siblings together. Both boys were then removed from their original foster home and placed into the West family care in late 2018. Their biological mother said she was never given an explanation for why that move was made, and thereafter she saw her children less often. When she was able to see them, she noticed that they were losing weight, appeared scared, and one of her sons had scratches on his face. She alleges that she wrote a letter to Human Services Department expressing her concerns that her children weren't getting the proper care, but she apparently never got a response. The family's attorney, Joaquin McCoy, stated that their maternal grandmother had also made multiple attempts to gain custody of her grandchildren, also completing parenting classes and undergoing a psychological review, but her requests were also denied. The family is now seeking $40 million in damages in the suit against the State Department of Social Services, Kern County Human Services, and the West family, and many others, arguing that the state had a duty to protect her children while they were in the care of the system. The family attorney stated that Sincere and Classic were murdered after being unlawfully taken from their mother as a result of an outdated foster care model that Congress described as having a perverse incentive to tear African American families apart, adding that Black families were disproportionately subjected to these types of investigations. With the adoptive parents of young Orrin and Orson West now accused of their murder, another set of parents, whose children were put in the care of the same people, are asking, what about their sons? Magenia Williams says that she has not seen her sons, Guillermo, aged 8, and Elisutera Parra, aged 10, for 5 years, and that at some point she said that they were placed in the foster care of Trezell and Jackie West, the couple who was charged in the alleged murders of Orrin and Orson West after more than a year of investigation. By that time, though, Kern County District Attorney said Orrin and Orson had already been dead for 3 months, which rightfully leaves this mother in anguish. Where are her boys? She and Israel Muniz, the boys' stepfather, said that Kern County Child Protective Services isn't giving them any answers.
We don't know where they are. I'm asking for proof of life.
Proof of life, a phrase usually associated with kidnapping. Williams says a court official told her in confidence that her son's initial foster care placement was with Trezell and Jacqueline West, and that scares her.
Been there 6 years now. They were adopted all out in 2018 to the West. And then from there, I've seen and heard nothing from them.
Kern County Human Services tells 17 News they can't comment on any aspect of Williams' story. Munoz says the whole system is unfair.
It's breathtaking, but that's how CPS does things. CPS will come in your house, they break up families, they don't need to be broken up. Yeah. And then they give these kids away like they're puppies. I mean, where's our constitutional right?
Now, like I said, this is their story. We, of course, do not have any confirmed official documentation of her case because CPS just doesn't talk. But I don't think it's totally off base to be fearful of where her boys are at, or especially knowing that they were once placed with the West family. I believe that maybe this set of siblings could be the ones that the West said that they sent back due to behavioral issues prior to 2020. It's also my belief that because legally they can't tell the bio mother where her bio kid's new placement is, that's what this report is about. I believe this is probably more of a technicality issue with the permission of custody rather than Trezell and Jackie being serial kid killers. But anything is possible, I suppose. Many rumors are flying and people are, of course, running with shock value headlines and sensationalizing certain details. But I'd like to remind everyone to just please be careful when doing that, as this is something that will follow all of these children for the rest of their lives. I could absolutely be wrong, and maybe their evil does run much deeper, but if they truly were just in the business of adopting kids just to kill them, I don't think that they would have ever reported the boys as missing, as to avoid drawing more attention to them with this other set of boys that would have already also been missing at that point. Jackie and Trezell were supposed to begin trial in October of 2022. However, it was pushed back. A Kern County Superior Court judge postponed the trial date until January of 2023. Alexia Torres-Stallings, who represents Jackie West, said that the defense has yet to receive footage from body-worn cameras, also DNA results, data from phones and computers, which all totals to more than 1,000 pages of discovery. Jackie's attorney and Trezell West's attorney, Timothy, requested that the court find good cause to move the trial date in order to adequately prepare for the best defense. The judge sided with both defense attorneys and postponed the trial until January 30th. A readiness hearing was scheduled for January 20th. The DA's office did not object to the postponement during a hearing that was attended by the boys' family, who were all wearing shirts with the toddlers' faces on them. Both defendants, who are being held without bail at the pretrial facility, according to Kern County Sheriff's records online, previously had requested a sooner trial date. So on Tuesday, March 7th, the couple appeared in court for a motion hearing. A group of around a dozen friends and family members of Orrin and Orson West's biological parents were also in attendance, and they also plan to be present throughout the trial. The Superior Court judge announced that a tentative schedule has been set for trial, with jury selection taking place from March 20th to March 24th of 2023, followed by opening statements on March 27th, closing arguments on June 1st, and deliberations on June 2nd.
17 Court Watch now. We now have a jury for one of the most anticipated criminal trials in Kern County in some time. A jury was chosen this morning for the trial of Trezell and Jacqueline West, the California City couple charged with murder and other crimes after two of their adopted sons, Orrin and Orson West, went missing more than 2 years ago. The panel of 7 women and 5 men was finalized just about an hour ago. Also chosen were 6 alternate jurors. They will hear opening statements from attorneys attorneys Tuesday morning, and at the end of what's expected to be months-long trial, will be tasked with deciding whether the Wests killed the boys ages 3 and 4 at the time of their disappearance. Prosecutors allege the boys died 3 months before the Wests reported them missing in December 2020. Their remains never found. The trial is expected to last into June.
The action of Trezell and Jackie West during all of this were definitely not typical panicked parent behavior. And if you're a parent, you know that feeling when you lose sight of your kid for 2 seconds and cannot find them. It happens to all of us at some point, and it's like your heart explodes, falls out of your body, and it's just the worst feeling in the world. And these two didn't experience that. They never participated in searches, and Jackie never even left the house to search. Their stories never made sense either, and it didn't sit right. The neighbors say they had never even seen the boys. Their scent wasn't anywhere outside of the house. The video surveillance of the 4 kids and the 2 adults getting into the car days before, without the 2 little boys, none of it makes any sense. It's not far-fetched to believe that these boys just never made it to Cal City. So what would the motive be? What was going on here? Was this an accident, and was this their elaborate plan to play it off? Or were these boys being harmed for an extended period of time, and it finally went too far, so they had to cover it up? We don't know, and we likely won't know until trial, or even at all. But there are a lot of theories swirling, and those interviews just gave such bad vibes. The timeline doesn't make sense. He searched for 6 minutes, but then stood outside for 13 minutes. Also, another key piece of information there. Remember, he said he searched all around, returned home, then he went inside, and that's when he and Jackie decided to call 911. Well, he never went inside. He went directly to that tree when he parked back at the house and sat for 13 minutes waiting for police. And Jackie never came outside once. So how did they connect to decide to make that 911 call? It's my belief that that 911 call was already planned before Trezell left. As in, they were in the house and he said, okay, I'm going to go pretend to search for the boys. You make the call in 5 minutes and call police, or make the call in 10 minutes, because we never see them make contact again. So tell me exactly how they were supposed to have this exchange where they decided to call 911 if they never saw each other. Doesn't make much sense. I plan to keep you all updated throughout the court proceedings, which are starting right now, and it is going to be a crazy trial. I can only imagine the things we are going to learn. And hopefully we can see justice served for these 2 little boys, who today would be 6 and 7 years old. Their bodies have not been recovered. Details of what happened to them have not been recovered. But we do know what the charges are, that the prosecution believes they have enough evidence to charge these monsters with, and the details of some of those charges about getting a minor to participate in the activity and in the crime itself. It's horrible. So I think that things are about to explode, and I will keep you updated every step along the way. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of those updates and you stay fully tuned, make sure you subscribe. Also, I have a playlist on my channel with all of the details of this case from as it was going on in real time. If you want to get fully caught up, since this was just a brief synopsis, go check those out. It's full interviews. It's some deep dive interviews I did with friends of the family. It's full scale footage of the house. I mean, we went deep into this case, so you can always check those out as well. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm going to keep you updated, and let's hope that we finally get answers and justice for these little boys. Until the next case, stay safe. Bye.